Hey guys. Okay, let's look. So I was able to manage to get into EU cells, and I'm just gonna kind of break down that process and yeah, what it is that I essentially looked for, how I was able to kind of get involved, and that's it really. Let's have a little peek at what I ended up doing. So obviously, the intention, there's hella bearish intention in the market. Actually, I have a way deeper take profit than this. Uh, we'll get over that in a second. But basically what I looked at here, so this is, I wouldn't say it's a tricky play. It's just kind of following order flow, letting it realign, understanding that we are, in fact, like inevitably going to react to some form of demand at the extremity. That's kind of what we're doing right now. So we're just getting a push off of it. You can see that it's just very poorly developed. There's nothing to really target. Yeah, there's just loads of liquidity below the expectational order flow low, right? So until this low gives out, I mean, there's just no real chance to take longs. You could have possibly got yourself into like a hedged position a little bit earlier, like if you had taken like a long, up from the top, and you just wanted to kind of cover or mitigate your risk. But yeah, like there was a few different entries that you could have taken, like I said. But yeah, I am definitely, like I said, hella bearish on this, just until we can essentially, yeah, take out this week low. Once we take out the low, then we can start looking at potentially looking for pullbacks once we start correlating higher time frame demand to the left hand side. So what I ended up seeing was, I just looked over at this area. Obviously, this is just a very, very tiny area that we sort of had. Was it here? Yeah, no, here. So I had a demand zone that ran across. We had interaction at the zone. What caused that to fail? Like, I know this is no like take on liquidity or anything like that, but we do have just that bullish sort of pressure, probably on lower time frames, that kind of solidifies that there was interaction. And it was enough for me to potentially get into a continuation given the right circumstances and the right development in price, to be able to, yeah, just be able to start looking. So first thing I did was I realized I had like a 4-hour POI that you guys just kind of saw on the chart. It's an interaction zone with demand over to the left-hand side. So it's really choppy in here. And the reason it's choppy is because there's a demand zone that it's reacting to. You're seeing all kinds of interaction, the exchanging of buy and sell orders that are happening within this region. So you would never necessarily be able to catch this trade. This is something that you would have to kind of let order flow realign on the 15. We are leaving from a higher time frame demand. We have seen the change of character. The change of character actually happens here technically. The first break of structure happens here for internal structure. So we are counter order flow. So in order for us to like really be able to be a little bit more confident with our potential sell buys, it's always best to kind of watch order flow realign. We are super deep in price too, but we're like, there's still tons of R on the table to be able to take these potential positions. But you just need to, understand that there needs to be some form of take on liquidity, which is exactly what all of this is. Ideally, we want to see it mitigate something on the higher time frame, which is exactly what happens in here. Obviously, like I said, it's a little bit choppy. So because we have a 4-hour POI, like I'm not looking for anything but a realignment on at least the 15. We could have potentially looked at something like this as your realignment, but I wanted to see at least this break, which had already happened. And I believe this morning when I first got on, this demand level had failed as well, which is also an interaction with this overall wick, right? So as I was watching this, I was basically like, okay, the 15-minute has shifted. We have kind of poor development. We don't have a lot of levels of liquidity to take into our POI. Wasn't sure if this was going to get ran as inducement and then come back down. So what I ended up doing is I just kind of sat on my hands and I allowed price to kind of figure out what it is that it was trying to do. So once we got this, this aggressive order flow shift, I jumped down onto my lower time frame only when we essentially hit this extreme refinement that's sitting right here. Once we hit that refined area, it was a little bit easier to kind of understand what the move in the market was next. So ultimately, we've got people kind of dancing around in the flip. I wasn't interested in the flip because for me, I personally like to see levels of liquidity to take from the market. So if you look at this and we're hitting a 15-minute POY, we don't necessarily have like a refined POY that we're reacting to. I mean, you could argue maybe that there is something in here, like that last little bit of interaction, maybe get into the seconds and stuff like that. But I said, you know what, I'm just going to be patient. I just want to be able to see what's going to happen on the 1 minute. I want to see how it develops. And then basically from there, I could start, just looking at what it is that I need to kind of confirm my bias as well as my trade idea. So what I like to see is ideally, when we're reacting to a 15-minute POY, we've kind of taken liquidity into the POY. We've had inducement. We've swept up. We've came back down aggressively. The idea is that now I want to be able to see a POY that makes sense for my trade idea. In this case, the flip does make sense. And the reason it does make sense to a certain degree is because we have this level to take into the actual flip, right? So this is how this POY gains relevance. It doesn't necessarily need to be a run on liquidity. There's probably something on a lower time frame that does, on a 5-second or something like that. But the idea is that the run on liquidity will happen here into the POY, and then this would be the tradable area to be able to then take this down. So what I ended up doing is I played the flip, being mindful of the extreme as well, potentially seeing something like this. But my rules say, and I'm sure all of your rules say the exact same thing. If you're trading alongside this community, the bottom line is we always play our flip zone, provided we have liquidity concepts to support our move, which in this case we do. And then, yeah, I just essentially jumped down onto my 5-second to kind of confirm what it is that I was looking for. So there were some details in here that were a little bit tricky. So if you look at this right now, just in how it had sort of developed, you can see that like this POY essentially gains relevance, like I said, based on the fact that we had a level to take into it to induce. Once we got up into that level and we swept in, right, we get the initial tap, we sweep the POY, we come down, we get the change of character, which is all part of the puzzle. The problem is that, okay, we don't have anything to take into the extreme, right? Like this is all liquidity at the extreme. So what ends up happening is if you're not super careful at these regions and you see that there's built up liquidity and it's just very, very poorly developed around this zone, don't be the first one in. Get ready with a sell stop or something like that. Like we get the tap in, get ready with a sell stop here. If it's not gonna tap you through and it's just gonna keep going up, all I kept doing was I had my sell stop already placed and I just clicked and dragged it up until we hit the absolute extreme area of the flip. And I said, well, this is the last point that the flip can actually hold. What are we looking at? And as soon as we got this bearish engulfing candle, I had literally snapped my line just underneath here. And this just continued downwards. We had tons of liquidity to take, even more to target. And yeah, I mean, super, like really, this is a really, really easy trade setup. But you had to be aware of, obviously, like the low is weak. We had a poorly developed bullish leg. The idea is that we're going to induce early buyers into the market before we break the structural low on the higher time frame. And then, yeah, so that's literally the trade idea. Does everybody understand how we kind of got from point A to point B to kind of confirm this trade idea at the flip? Cool. Anybody take this trade or a similar trade? Yes and no. Okay. King, good man, good man. So guys, I don't want to make anybody feel bad. That's obviously, that doesn't benefit anybody, but you have to see that like when we're doing these things, when we're watching these things play out, don't be scared to pull the trigger on these trades, because man, this is like, I don't want to keep saying they're textbook trades, but like this is really, I don't think we've violated a single fucking thing in our trade plan, right? Like there's nothing that got violated here. So it should be okay to take trades, even though we're heavily discounted in PA, as long as we're reacting to something significant on the higher time frame. Yeah, I mean, ideally, we want to be taking these way further up. But when you see this run on liquidity, we come back down, aggressively move in, we start to move back, we get this corrective nature. You can see what's happening, right? And like, it's your job to kind of decipher these things as a trader and be able to say, okay, is there a reasonable trade that I can take? And like, even if you just took your profits off at the demand level that was created, right? The idea is that the lows are weak, but in theory, we're going to get some sort of a reaction here, probably get some sort of inducement and then snap down, right? But having a realistic target that aligns with higher time frame and just playing into the next area where somebody might look for a hedge, I think it's a great fucking trade setup. Even though we are heavily discounted in terms of the M15, if you look at the M15 structure shift that just happened, you can see that here's your structural level. You're in the premium of the new structural level. We've had the order flow shift. We're expecting this to take out the week low. Like there's like a 50-hour trade sitting here, right? I took it and did a case study on it, found no violations other than maybe placement in the 4-hour leg. Yeah, and we don't always measure 4-hour leg, right? Like we're like, ideally we're going to want to be at the top. Like, you know, like obviously that's the case, but these continuation patterns, these, you know, order flow realignment, even though they're deeper in price, the objective in the market is to take out the week low on the daily. That's what's happening. So when you understand all of these things from a higher time frame, you're able to really kind of put together what makes sense and how you can actually swing on these trades. Yeah. So 15-minute swing, this is tricky. Like I said, just because it's such a messy piece of price, to be honest with you, very hard to kind of like pinpoint where a swing is. I would say like really your swing, your swing point would probably technically be here, but just given that we can look at the higher time frame, look at the interaction zone that we're reacting to, we have a 4-hour POI. As soon as we tap in, we immediately get an order flow shift, come back super correctively. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like everything developed exactly how we would want to see this schematic play out way the fuck up here. And that's the only reason I got involved. And because I'm a greedy fuck. What kept you out of the first sweep into the POI? Like I kind of explained that with the 5-second, right? So if you go to that sweep, okay, you go to this sweep, your change of character only happens on this demand failure, right? So if that happens there, okay, then we have to start looking at, okay, well, what's caused this to fail? This is about the area, but the problem is that like we have loads of liquidity resting above this area. Why? Because we have built up mitigations, right? The market is not trying to take your fucking orders or take your stop loss. It's just going where orders are, right? And if there's the last bit of orders to be fulfilled here, and then we're at a do or die point of the POI after liquidating and inducing this high, man, this gets so much relevance, right? And if it doesn't work out, you know, we're going to get a reaction that we can move over to break even. And if and when we get swept out, we know that we can still come up to this extreme and run all of this as liquidity and then possibly crash down. So it's all about putting these things together and just, I know I say it like make it make sense. And like, obviously, like it's probably just because I have a hard time sort of explaining this, but the bottom line is you have to look at how it develops, right? You have to understand that like if we have a bunch of mitigation sitting here and we get our change of character at this level on the first demand failure, where would you put your order here? Like where would you be able to be comfortable enough to put your order? You wouldn't be able to, right? If this was like a 4-hour chart, you would say like, am I going to look for a trade here? Absolutely not. You're going to wait for liquidity to clear. Once it clears, you want to see the taper in price. And as soon as like we hit that extreme level, you can put it on the area that would cause the chalk. Cool. Sell stop. So I had a 3-pip stop on this, which is a little bit large for how I usually trade, but the setup was valid. I don't really care if it's 3-pip, 3.5, 4-pip. If the trade's valid now, like I don't really care. I used to be all about the 1.5, and more often than not, I'd be shitting my pants because I'm worried about getting spreaded out. So yeah, if it ends up working out and there's a 3-pip, 3.5-pip, 4-pip trade, who fucking cares? Take the goddamn trade. As long as it correlates with your rules, we induce these highs, boom, liquidity to take, liquidity to target. Away we go. How do you mark M15 structure? Just eyeball it? No. Like we have a lot more. But my suggestion to you, Dag, is go over to the welcome series. I've got a couple, 1 or 2 videos, maybe just one, on structure and just kind of how we interpret it and how we kind of integrate it with our swing, our internal structure break, as well as our substructure break. In this, like I said, in this very specific case, it's really tough to mark anything as structure other than probably this level right here, this, right, this, maybe this, you know what I mean? This is all pretty messy. So you would just look at your overall higher time frame, look at the area where supply took control of demand. That's what this level is. Once we get the reaction, this is the structural level that we're looking to play off of a strong high, and then potentially take this into a weak low, right? So sometimes it's just choppy like this, and you kind of have to make it make sense from that higher time frame. Don't just zoom out, right? Flick through your time frames and understand that, you know, on a 2 hour, you might get a better POI that makes a little bit more sense. You can see it a little bit better here. We've got refined wick right here, just above this wick, probably in this region right here, we probably have a better refinement. These are not really structural levels. This is all part of a leg, at least in my opinion. So yeah, that's basically how I would look at this and how I did look at it. Was that a decent explanation for everybody? Any questions or anything like that? Cool. And again, guys, apologies on not getting that fucking, just give me 2 seconds. Sorry, I'm just getting a text. Yeah, apologies on not getting this out earlier. The daily look ahead. For some reason, I'm just having a super hard time lately with all of the uploads on YouTube. It just takes a while to render, and then it doesn't render properly. So we're going to be looking to switch over to Vimeo. It's in the works. I'm hoping, like I said, I'm hoping maybe end of day today, I'll have some stuff sorted out so that I can actually start posting there. And if not, it'll be by the end of the week. We're also going to have an integration in the website once the platform is built, where all of our videos are going to live, and they'll be uploaded a lot quicker. We're not going to have to worry about how long it takes to render on YouTube. So just bear with me. I do apologize. I know a lot of you guys are just kind of waiting on that to kind of give yourself an idea of what's happening in the morning. But yeah, I'm just doing my best, guys. Was there a valid sell on gold? I didn't trade gold today. Like I said, I'm not going to go through every single setup. Your job as a trader, as a member of this community, is to build out your case studies based off of the different pairs that we do follow now. If you want to do one for every single one, it's up to you. Willis, honest to God, man, why don't you tell me if there was a valid setup, right? And how you can tell me is by literally tagging me up in the comment section in the case study section, and I will be over the moon to have a look at it. Just tag me up, and yeah, like I said, I'd be happy to kind of review it. Go ahead, Trev.
Yeah, hey Ty. I just got a quick question here. So I switched from demo to live, so I'm just trading like a small live account, like personal.
Sure.
And I took my first trade this morning on it.
Okay.
And it was this same setup. And so I had everything lined up good. But what my mistake was is on my MT4, I actually had the chart set up as GU, because since we have all this separate pairs. So
yeah,
I actually I hit sell, and I'm like, oh man, something's not right here. And then I realized I was on the wrong pair. So I just shut it down immediately, and I kind of lucked out with I got my risk off, right?
Yep.
So just my kind of question is just switching from demo to live trading, and just like the different kind of nerves, like since it's actually real money now. When I was trading demo, like, man, I was dialed in, like everything was good. And yeah, I don't know, I just felt a bit of nerves today. It was like the first live trade.
Yeah.
Is that just kind of like a common thing? I mean, I'm only risking 0.5%, so it's like $20 a trade, you know. It's
I mean, you know what, man, like trust me, it's beyond normal. You're gonna, yeah, there's a lot of different psychological things. There's a lot of added pressure that you put on yourself as soon as the clicking actually has money behind it. One of the best ways to kind of go about it is I like to only have one specific because a lot of people will have tabs at the bottom, right, with like EU, GU, GBP, JPY, XAU. I will only ever have one tab at one given time on there. I know obviously you still need to correlate between TradingView and MT4. Just be really sure when you're like, you got all kinds of time to kind of watch these setups build, make sure that you're set up. Yeah, man, mistakes happen. In all fairness, like the first day last week that I got this E8 account, something similar happened where, you know, I thought I was on gold and I was on EU, and yeah, I ended up getting stopped out for like a $5,000 fucking position because my stop loss wasn't placed properly. So yeah, man, it does happen. Mistakes happen all the fucking time. Yeah, I would probably create like what I should do too. It doesn't happen to me very often, to be honest with you. It really never has. But if you want to have like a little checklist beside your computer before you even start up your trades, have it in Notion, whatever it is that you want to do. Make a process of it, right? That's probably the best way that you can kind of combat it.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thanks, man.
Cool, buddy. Do you use Trade Assistant, by the way, Trav, or Magic Keys?
No, I use Trade Assistant. Yeah.
Okay, so give me a second, and what I'll do, I'll just share my screen on my MT4. Where is it? New share. Let's go MT4. Okay, so if you can you see my Trade Assistant right now?
Yeah.
So the other thing you can do right here is you can actually go between your stuff up top, right? And it always tells you what's going on here. I know it still tells you here and it still tells you down here. But on your actual Trade Assistant, it'll tell you exactly which one you're on. And like if you click this chart, yeah, so I don't know if you knew that, but it's definitely a handy feature. Yeah, to kind of get used to using.
Wow. Yeah, okay, I see that. Yeah, I got to go through and alter my stuff. I have all the pairs kind of lined up when you click in here, so I got to go into the settings there. But okay, yeah, cool.
Cool, buddy. And like, look at like I believe I can go like this. I can close all of these. Typically, they are closed. And then I can still go like this and be able to say, okay, I actually just want to see GU instead. And then I can still like toggle through and it'll automatically populate it.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
So instead of having all those different tabs and getting confused, you literally have to execute on this device. So just make it a habit to just look and see what pair you're on.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, that makes it better. Yeah, awesome. I appreciate that. Thanks, man.
Worries, guys. Okay, I'm out of here. I'm actually going to be out for the rest of the day. Yeah, got a couple plans for this afternoon. It's like 28 degrees Celsius here. So I'm probably going to go park my ass on the beach in Ottawa. So probably won't be able to answer any questions while I'm there, but I'll be back around 4:30, 5 o'clock. And if there's any questions that come up throughout the day, I will be happy to answer those as they come in. We've also got the other coaches. Don't forget to reach out to Alfonso, the two Alfonsos, Kota, Dana, Dave, and if they can answer, they will. And if they're just not in a position where they feel like they can, they'll at me and I'll take care of it later on today. So have a good trading day, guys. We're going to be looking at some higher time frame narrative stuff going into tomorrow, and I'll be posting up hopefully a little bit longer video. And yeah, anyways, I'll have that out probably around 6:30, 7 o'clock tonight Eastern Standard Time, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for the same thing, trade recap and any questions that come up in the Discord. So have a good day, guys. Trade safely, and I will see you guys tomorrow.